Hi everyone, my name is Jemma Naish. I'm the marketing manager here at TIAH. I'm with Stephen Jacob, our CEO, and we're going to catch you up about what's been happening with TIAH. Stephen, how are you doing?
Thank you very much, Jemma. Yeah, I'm good, thank you, and thank you for setting this conversation up. So for those who don't know me, I'm Stephen Jacob, Chief Exec of TIAH. I like to say I'm a new boy, but I think I've been in post almost a year now, so it's really good to sort of start this off and start to get this dialogue going. So really looking forward to it, Jemma.
Fab, thank you. So I wanted to have a chat with you. You were recently at the Farm to Fork Summit at 10 Downing Street, and I wanted to just kind of chat about your experiences of that. Can you share any key takeaways that you learned from the summit and how you think that might impact strategies here at TIAH?
Certainly, Jemma. Yeah, I think first of all, the Prime Minister and the government are to be congratulated for holding the summit. It's the second summit and the first one that I've actually attended. But it was a really good opportunity to bring people together, to bring some of the business leaders together and sort of thought leadership. And it was all the way across the food chain. So it was farmers, it was processors, and all the way through to retailers as well, really highlighting what we're producing here within the United Kingdom. There was a big focus on, obviously, the new announcements that the government have made around the UK Food Security Index and how they're going to be monitoring different aspects or different external effects on food production, such as conflict in parts of the world or some of the really poor weather that we've had over the winter flooding. So that's to be congratulated, and also looking to increase the amount of fruit and vegetables that are produced in the UK, which would be a very welcome announcement that came through from the government. But following a bit of a garden party, it was wet, of course. It was the British summertime, so we had a little bit of rain. We were taken off into groups, and the group that I went into was talking about innovation in the sector. And it was fascinating. I loved it. It's part of what really keeps me engaged with the industry. One of the businesses we learned about was a business which is using artificial intelligence to identify insects by its wing beat pattern. And you think of the different applications you can use that in an IPM program, for example, when you're thinking about crop production. But the key takeaway for me is two things really. One, that skills underpin everything that we're trying to do, whether we're upskilling ourselves to meet the new technology and the automation that's coming into the industry, keeping ourselves up to date from a CPD perspective, but also thinking about the future skills that are required in the industry and the sort of people and the backgrounds and the skills that they have to support us to be resilient and to prosper. And the second real takeaway for me was that we need longer timescales. We need a strategy and policy which is beyond the current timescales that we've got. To give you an example, that the environment plan is for 25 years. We're well into that now, but we know what we're trying to achieve over that 25-year period, and we really need that sort of timescale for food policy as well.
Great, thank you. You mentioned that the summit brought people together from various different stakeholders across the supply chain there. In your view, how effective do you think that the event was in fostering that collaboration and aligning the priorities of farmers?
Yeah, I do think it was good. I think that it was an excellent opportunity to network and to network outside of your usual sort of group of stakeholders that you're usually engaging with. So I thought that was really valuable, actually. Certainly some new connections that were made by myself and other people in the wet tent when we were standing in the garden. But that was really good. And I think the other thing it does is it really showcases British food and farming as well across all of government, because when we think of government and we think of food and farming, we think of DEFRA, but actually we're beyond different departments within government. If you think about ourselves, Department for Education has really got a remit around skills, but also Home Office when it comes to bringing labour into the UK as well. So it really did showcase what we're doing, and I would welcome such an event to be, to run again next year as well.
Thank you. One of the stated goals of the summit was to discuss ways to boost growth, drive innovation, and improve sustainability in the food industry. From your perspective, how do you think TIAH membership helps to meet those goals?
I think that TIAH membership is really, really important because we're thinking about lifelong learning. So we're thinking about how people keep themselves up to date with technology and different advancements that are coming into the industry. We're thinking about how they can demonstrate that to future employers or their own employer. And I think the different learning pathways that we have, for example, will really help to develop people down those routes, whether it's meeting new innovation or whether it's meeting current government policy as well around sustainable farming incentive, for example. We've got some really good learning pathways around soils, and we've got some good pathways around nutrient management planning, which are coming along soon as well. And it's about, I always think with TIAH is, if you want to find some information, it's a really good place to start, and that's only going to grow, expand and develop over the next few years.
Oh, thank you. So that wasn't the only event that we were at this week. We're also at the Pig and Poultry Show at the NEC in Birmingham, and I believe that Tess Howe also panelled at this chair discussion there about recruiting the next generation. How did you think that went?
I unfortunately I wasn't able to go to the event, Jemma, and I really wanted to, because obviously Pig and Poultry only happens every 2 years, but the feedback that I received has been really encouraging. We had some really good footfall and some really good conversations, and the panel was really well received as well. Some great questions and some really good speakers supporting us. And it comes back to, again, about industry attractiveness. How do we bring people in? How do we get people to understand about the great jobs and opportunities that are available in the industry? And once they're in, how do we retain them? That's the other thing. I think it's about recruitment and retention. And it's an important part, an important role that TIAH is going to be playing in the future, to try and assist people and to provide that information to parents, teachers, and even young people as well, thinking about a career with us.
We talked a lot about CPD and the journey that farmers might take on that, and obviously with Agri Leadership Week coming up next week, we wanted to just have a chat maybe about the CPD journey and how that's important in leadership.
Yeah, so I think CPD is two things to me. The first thing is it's a way of demonstrating currency, and I think that's really important. When we think about qualifications we might have taken or skills we might have learned, how do we demonstrate that currency? How do we keep updates? That's the really important thing about CPD. And the second thing for me is around that leadership piece, really, I think, Jemma. We are all leaders in our own rights. And I think we've all got leadership skills. We've all got that leadership muscle, if you like. We have to develop and we have to train and we have to keep on using as we go through our working lives. And I think that's the thing about it. So don't always look at Agri Leadership Week and think it's just for people who are in some of those more senior roles. Look at it from your own perspective and think, what can you take away from this? What can you learn about it? And how can you implement it within your own everyday working lives?
That's fantastic, thank you. Lastly, we a couple of weeks ago attended Cultivate, and we I know that you and I both went, and we ended up having a really great CPD day alongside many other farmers and growers as well. What were your thoughts about the day, and what did you learn?
Yeah, I loved it. It was a little bit different from some of the other events that we've attended in the past, and we were the CPD partner for it, which was really good, and we thought it's a really strong partnership to have. But it was very thought-provoking, both from a sort of personal development point of view. There were some great takeaways, and we had some really good sessions in the morning, which everybody got involved in. It was very participatory as well, which was good. And then to hear some of the inspirational speakers in the afternoon, even though some of those stories you may have heard before, and of course they may be new to some people, they were really, really good and focused at the farming audience, the audience they are actually in that room. Great event, and I really hope it takes place again next year as well, Jemma.
Yeah, fantastic, thank you. I really got a lot out of Paul McGee and his concept of having hippo time, but then using his sumo is shut up and move on. If you want to hear more about that, we'll be placing a blog later on this week. Thanks so much for your time, Stephen, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, but we'll catch up again soon.
Fantastic. Love to speak, Jemma. See you soon.
Thank you.